Cotton, the monsters are doing a really good job.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, I thought they deserved another star.
Like you made them stronger so they can eat villages easier?
Oh, right. My mistake.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, Monster Hunter Wilds is the game that keeps on giving. Even in between title updates, we've had this major patch, and within it, we had the addition of basically a whole new system for the endgame, revolving around these new 9-star versions of tempered monsters that drop randomized appraisal talismans. We spent a lot of time talking about the talisman part of that over the last few days, but today I want to change things up and talk about the monsters instead, and do the thing that I usually like to do when they add new difficulty levels of existing fights, and work out some comparative numbers and stats between them all to work out exactly how much harder these 9-star tempered monsters are than the 8-star tempered versions of the same ones that used to be the height of difficulty in the game. We'll talk about their health pools, their damage, we'll talk about their wound resistance, which is a little bit more feely craft than numbers, and then we'll also talk about any moveset or differences in aggression as well. First things first, let's start by comparing their maximum health, as it's the easiest thing to properly discuss. Usually we go around dragging environmental damage pops into monsters like boulders and stuff like that to compare the numbers between different difficulty levels, but while that is a good general benchmark, because environmental traps always do a set percentage of a monster's maximum health as damage, it isn't quite perfect either, because monsters do spawn with a range of different health amounts in the game, and that's just the way the game works, rather than always being one set number to compare between accurately. That said, this time around there has been a bit of data mining done thanks to this player here for getting the precise numbers, and we had precise numbers from when everything was bumped up to 8-star previously as well, so this should be about as accurate as it could possibly be this time around. We will go in HP order and try to use that to discuss which ones are particularly worth farming if you just want speed of hunt, and for reference, all of these numbers are 5 purple stars. The purple stars also adjust health and damage, so this is their hardest versions. That said, going through them one by one, 9-star tempered Ray Dow's lowest potential maximum health is 38,400. This is right around a 30% increase from his 8-star 5-star version. Next up is Lagiacrus. His lowest potential maximum health spawn as a 9-star monster is 38,707, which is an extremely specific number, but it is only a 13.8% increase over his 8-star version. This is far less difference than some of the others, but it seems that what they've done here is more try to normalize and equalize the health pools around the 40,000 mark for most of them, rather than trying to equally raise their difficulty from what they were before at 8-star. The third lowest health option, and this is what I would say is the fastest general kill time potential based on the health numbers and the specific monsters, and obviously from hunting it myself, it is Mizitsune at 40,128. This is slightly higher than Ray Dow and Lagiacrus, but Ray Dow flies all over the place constantly, and Lagiacrus has tougher hit zones and an underwater section, whereas Mizitsune just gets absolutely destroyed if you consistently hit it in the head and use the elements that it's weak to. That said, this is, however, around a 36% increase over the 8-star 5-star Mizitsune's health pool, so it is a pretty big jump in comparison to that version specifically. After that, we've got new Udra, apex of the oilwell basin, sitting pretty at 40,320 health, and this is a 34.4% increase over the health pool of the 8-star 5 purple star new Udra that used to be its hardest version. Then there is Duna, temptress of tuna, who jumps it up a bit to 42,240 health, which is only a 17.3% increase over her 8-star version. This means if you were someone who did like hunting a tuna before, her 9-star version hasn't had its health inflated all that much, at least in a relative sense to what the others have. So if this was your preferred farm fight before, it should still sort of be so now. Moving on to 4th place then, we've got Big Pinecone Steve. Seregios' new minimum health pool as a 9-star tempered monster with 5 purple stars is actually exactly tied with Duna, 42,240, so they do have synchronized health. And some people might find that a little bit odd, but Seregios has some really nice hit zones that sort of even that out to make him relatively squishier than most of them if you actually count the damage you do when you hit him. He is just an absolute nightmare as far as his damage output and speed though. Next up, seeing one hell of an increase, we've got Arkveld. Arkveld was the only monster that originally had an 8-star quest version in the game, and so when the rest of the monsters got buffed up to 8-star, they got buffed to a state much higher than what Arkveld was originally because of the power creep from gear and stuff that released after launch. This means that this is Arkveld's first true difficulty glow up in the game, and he now sits at 45,926 health at 9-star, and this is around a 64% increase from his 8-star version. Yep, you heard that right. He has gotten a ridiculous amount tankier than his original 8-star tempered version, and as we will get to in a bit later, he is one of the ones that has climbed in difficulty the most from his 9-star version as a whole. Second place then is Dahaad, the apex of the iceshard cliffs, sitting at 51,148 health. Funny enough, his health pool was so high at 8 stars, this is actually only a 17% increase in comparison, so he does have a ton of health in his 9-star version, but not too much more than he did in his 8-star version. Then finally we have the biggest of the bunch and the funniest result as well, which is Gore Magala. At 8-star with 5 purple stars, tempered Gore Magala was an absolute nightmare and a full-on tank, sitting at around 54,346 health, which meant that his 8-star version was tankier than every 9-star tempered monster that we've talked about so far, except for Gore Magala himself. But the funny thing is, he has only very marginally increased in health pool. His new health pool, in equivalent circumstances, is now 55,070 health at 9-star, meaning that he has gained like 724 health, which is a minuscule increase of 1.3%. Gore Magala at 9 stars is not really functionally tankier in any way than his 8-star version, which, you know, his health pool was already high enough that I think it's a very fair choice, but it's also quite funny, and it makes the 8-star version of the monster a really strange outlier as far as the value that it offers compared to every other version of him now. Next up, we've got damage comparisons, and the easiest way to do this was 9-star 5-star Seregios versus 8-star 5-star Seregios, as his moveset is relatively small and entirely physical, which just means that the damage is consistent and it's easily comparable because we can make the attacks happen quickly. The main attack that I checked this with was his sideways swooping claw swipe as one of his deadliest attacks, and for a direct comparison before and after, the top red bar here, the top health bar, is the same hit from full health from 8-star with purple stars. The health bar under it is from full health from 9-star with 5 purple stars. After looking closer, the pixel count in particular and a quick calculation shows that it's around a 6% increase in damage, which is honestly not crazy at all, but given that Seregios gained a ton of health, that's very fair too. So let's look at another monster just to double check and go with Arkveld, as again, Arkveld's original 8-star tempered quest is the only one that was a part of the base game on launch, and so it's the one that we expected to see the most growth from in difficulty. Well, the easiest physical attack to check this with was his stabby tail thrust that he does. Here you can see it laid out again with 8-star on top, 9-star below. For this one it was closer to a 23% damage increase. Most monsters seem to be closer to the Seregios change, was around a 6 to 10% more damage, depending on the attack, depending on the monster, compared to their 8-star versions. And Arkveld seems to be the outlier here, as expected, as he did need more than a bit of a bump from his 8-star version to make him properly challenging. So this does all make sense. With that covered, then let's talk about things like wound resistance and possibly even part health. These monsters do definitely feel more wound resistant than their 8-star versions in general, but I can't say it feels notably more resistant in comparison to the amount of health that they've gained too. Most likely what has happened here is that with their health pools increasing, the wound thresholds for each part have also increased in a relative amount. So it's taking longer to get each wound, but over the course of the full hunt you should still have a very similar number of wounds, even so, just because of the way that wounds work. So it will feel a little bit slower, but it'll pretty much be the same in comparison. The exception to this, I think, is Gore Magala, who has gained barely any health at all, but does have some more wound resistance feeling, and more importantly, his topple thresholds feel way higher too. The main way to counter Gore Magala's most difficult phase is to damage his feelers enough that he falls out and ends his enrage early, but 9-star Gore Magala seems to take an absolute ton of punishment to force that interaction, and all that in itself makes the fight way harder without anything else. That said, the last real thing to discuss here is their speed, aggression, and movesets. So let's get the first thing out of the way. The movesets are exactly the same. They have not gained new actual attack animations. Speed seems to be more or less the same in the general sense, but aggression specifically definitely feels like it's increased. The monsters spend less time between their attacks just sitting around. They give you less opportunities to breathe, to recover, or to fight back. It takes more effort to fatigue them, and importantly, Arkveld, especially, who again has seen a significant jump since his 8-star version, his aggression has gone up a ton. The way that he chooses which moves that he uses has clearly changed. He does a lot less stuff with his tail, he does a lot less of his just pure physical attacks, a lot more things with his chains, a lot more dragon explosions, and it's very notable. And while I said that speed seems to be about the same in general for most of them as well, I think Arkveld might be the exception where he does feel a little bit faster to me than his original 8-star tempered version. All in all, the overall result is that the health pools have significantly increased for some, but only a little bit for others, and most of them have normalized around 40,000 2,000 health at their lowest for the 9-star tempered with 5 purple stars on it too, with the exceptions being arkveld, dahaad, and gore magala. In general, their damage has also increased, and most of them are now at the point where their biggest, baddest attacks will one-shot a lot of people, but most of them are still pretty survivable, and even then, the big ones can be survived if you have enough defense or utility within your build quite easily. The speed and aggression changes are most meaningful for arkveld and gore specifically, and for the rest of the monsters I didn't really feel it all that much, so these are definitely a step up compared to 8-star monsters across the board, but much more so in the health department more than anything else, to honestly just try and give you a more consistent set of monsters that are likely to give you nice, longer hunts, because people do like longer hunts in general, and having that as an option is nice. And while that may not increase the danger as much as like on a moment-to-moment basis, the longer that a hunt lasts, the more opportunities you have to make mistakes, and that all in itself is a difficulty increase too. That just about does it for today, and everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this analysis and breakdown, and hopefully it helps you out in your 9-star hunts moving forwards. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.